We started this whole Expendables thing together, but we had a falling out.
Modern action films often feel like the same movie plastered with a different leading man or gimmick to make it feel high stakes. This probably comes from the early days of cinema, with westerns leading the way, often having very similar plots to one another. As time goes on, it feels like the idea of what is entertaining in cinema goes through genre changes. In the beginning, there was a high focus on comedy, which transitioned to westerns. Westerns were succeeded by spy and noir films, most notably films like the James Bond series, as well as noirs such as Mildred Pierce or Double Indemnity. I think the reason for this is mostly because as cinema has evolved, so has our idea of entertainment. Entertainment itself is very subjective. There's no definitive way to determine what is truly peak entertainment, yet people, myself included, will defend a genre of film because we enjoy it or it generally entertains us. I think this is where the boom in action films came from. Critically speaking here, I don't usually find action films to be entertaining or fun to watch. There are a few exceptions to this, but it feels like the same series of movies gets a new film every year that does not really shake up what the genre is. I don't necessarily think they need to redefine what the genre is, but it feels like you're watching essentially the same film every single time. To me, that is not entertaining, but I do get the appeal. It's fun to watch things happen on the screen. The new Godzilla movies are not amazing, but boy do I like seeing big ass monsters fight on the screen. Does that mean I would rate these movies very highly because they fit a niche need of mine? No, but it does allow me to be entertained by something that isn't particularly peak cinema. It's just stuff happening on the screen that to me is really exciting, to others it might not be. So I do get the appeal of action films, but I do think they are kind of problematic right now. Alright, so let me talk about a little thing called expectations. We all have them, and we all want them to be met. Expectations can make or break a lot of things depending on if they are properly met or not. When it comes to film, this is honestly one of the biggest factors in determining if a film will be successful or not. The expectations built from trailers and the buzz from reviewers and from friends can have such a huge impact on a person before they even walk into the theater. If you walk in expecting a masterpiece and the film ends up being pretty average, that might sour the experience and take what you might have viewed as a 3 out of 5 film and bring it down to a 2 or even a 1 out of 5. This also works in reverse. If the expectations are low or you're not expecting anything and it ends up being pretty average or even above average, you might walk out thinking it was one of the best films you've ever seen. So yeah, I think we can all agree that expectations are huge when it comes to a lot of things in general, but expectations play an absolutely huge role in the film industry today, and especially with action films. Most action films today are pretty forgettable, and I think that has a lot to do with the marketing and the discourse around them. Many will claim they are bigger, badder, and with more explosions. Or maybe they claim they aren't traditional and have a really great story with crazy, never before seen action sequences. Honestly, these claims sour any of these films for me. They are often very hollow films with boring sequences that never make you feel like stakes are involved. I think that's what's really important about action films. The ones that are really good, you actually feel like something could happen. The people that you're watching on the film, you might care about at this point. And the ones that are very hollow, you know that they're probably going to live. They're not going to be taking any risks. They might not need to take these risks, but it definitely adds to that experience. And when your expectations are high or low and they don't deliver on those, I think it can really make or break the film. This is just my general opinion and feel on action films. But when looking at action films, I feel like one series in particular stands out to me. Maybe not series, but one film and a series. It's self-aware, really spoofy, fun, and just generally entertaining and a good time to watch. If you read the title, you probably know what I'm talking about, but the film that I want to highlight is the KINGSMAN, series, but the first one in particular, The Secret Service. To me, is everything right with action films and what a lot of films should kind of aspire to be. KINGSMAN: The Secret Service is one of those rare movies that come out of literally nowhere and really wins over its audience. I remember watching the trailers, only one trailer for this film, and when it was coming out, and I really didn't know what it was going to be about. I had no idea it was going to be like an action or a spy movie. It felt kind of like a high school kind of coming of age film. I don't really know, but it felt forgettable, and I honestly completely forgot it came out. I eventually saw it on a whim. A friend kind of recommended it to me, and I thought when I heard the title, The Secret Service, it was going to be a movie about the Secret Service, and I was like, that could be kind of fun. And then I looked up the trailer, and the trailer I saw afterwards was like way better than the one I saw in theaters. So yeah, I went and saw it on a whim when I heard it was playing. I went in with like really low expectations, and I came out absolutely loving it. Kingsman does what I think a lot of action films lack in having a very coherent story to go along with fun scenes and great, almost cheesy performances. From the very first scene, it is already obviously aware of how silly action films, and in particular spy films, are. It takes tropes and stereotypes of past films and embraces them in order to pull off something that is just really fun to watch. All while this is happening, the audience is given a show-stealing performance from like every single person in the cast. It's actually crazy. Like, this cast is stacked, and I have no idea how I didn't know it before I went into it. We have Taron Egerton, it was one of his first films, so I didn't know much about him, but I love him. We have Colin Firth, Samuel L. Jackson, Sophie Cookson, Sophia Boutella. Like, there's just so many stacked names in this film. It's crazy to me. So with such a stacked cast, every scene, it feels like they're competing with one another. They're playing off one another so well that it becomes just really fun to watch. The characters all feel like really fleshed out. They're all super unique, and you don't feel like they're buying into the tropes too much. They have their own personalities, and I think that's really fun to see. The characters also really play off one another quite well, and it allows for these really dynamic relationships to form right before the audience's eyes. Eggsy and Harry have a great, almost father and son dynamic that lets you get to explore their backgrounds in such a short amount of time. Eggsy and Roxy have like the best friendship. It's good, you know? Like, it's a chef's kiss kind of good. It's something that you don't ever see in action films or films in general, and I love it so much. Eggsy and Roxy are legit just friends who are there to help each other through the challenges, and there's no tension or romance between them. Why I love this is because goddamn, anytime there's a leading actress in spy films, they often become reduced to just the spy's love interest and not much more. Kingsman really subverts that and gives Roxy a personality, which is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that. And it's just really fun. She's cool, she's better than Eggsy, she's really knowledgeable, she's awesome, and I really like her a lot. Also, Roxy actually wears clothes, like what the other agents are wearing, which never happens, dude. Like, are you serious? It's really refreshing to see that. You know, she's not wearing heels and like a mini skirt to do field training with the boys, you know? She's actually wearing like a ghillie suit, or her first scene, she's wearing like a full out suit, and it's just like so iconic. I love it. Okay, so there might be some exceptions to this, but it has been a huge glaring problem with spy films, and to a greater extent, James Bond films for a long, long time. So yeah, the cast is great and the dynamics are great, and having all of these different dynamics going on is not only heartwarming, but it fleshes out the main cast in such a great way that it's really hard not to enjoy the film. Packing all these aspects with a well-made film from like a pretty technical perspective, and you just get a really great action film. It's fun from minute one to the end, and it does not need to make many sacrifices to do so. The action scenes are tense and tightly edited to make the audience actually feel like there's stakes at hand. Like, are you just gonna make one of the tensest scenes about a dog and not expect me to applaud that? Kingsman: The Secret Service honestly has it all when it comes to action films. But does that mean it's a perfect movie? No. But it's still a great film with a lot to offer, and I think the reason many loved it so much is because the expectations were not high. Like I said earlier, I forgot this movie was even happening, so it's fair to say I went in with no expectations and walked out really liking it. Kingsman really made me appreciate what expectations can do to shape a film, and I think without those lower expectations, I probably would not be talking about this today. Kingsman isn't perfect, and I don't think it needed to be. It had its flaws, one of which is specifically what was said in the church before the fight. It doesn't add anything, and it isn't something I stand by or agree with. Kingsman showed that action films can be more than just action sequences. You can have a really great story and fun, fleshed out characters in an action film. There's so much you can do with the genre, and I really appreciate what Kingsman has done, not only for the genre itself, but what it has done to shape my opinion on these films. So yeah, to summarize, action bad, expectation important, Kingsman good. But that's just my opinion, bruv. Watch what you want and what makes you happy, and remember, you're the governor. Thanks for watching.